This video is a reply to 6oodfella, the Glasgow Youtuber. I made a video about an issue related to him. He replied, and this is my reply to that one. If you want to start from the beginning with my original video, that's in the links below. His reply to me is there as well if you want to watch that. But I'll give a very brief summary before launching into the new response. Right, 6oodfella made a tweet last year and it said, "Where's a Muslim with a truck when you need one? Hashtag Pride Glasgow." The obvious meaning, talking about a Muslim terrorist truck attack on the Pride event in Glasgow, the LGBT event in Glasgow. Now, 6oodfella was arrested for this. He eventually wasn't charged for it, so it amounted to nothing. And he now makes three claims. He claims he didn't do the tweet. He claims he didn't mean anything to do with terrorism. He claims it could have been, say, a kebab truck he was referring to. And he claims he didn't realise that truck attacks were actually carried out by Muslims. Now, no one actually believes him, including himself. But people play along with him as though it's some sort of game. And he tries to make out that he's sort of cleverly fooling the police by taking these lines. Whereas if it came to court, these would just be laughed out of court and dismissed as the ridiculous claims that they are. Now, through this video, I've interspersed a few clips from his video. I mean, I could have tried to bleep out the swearing. If I'd done that, it would sound more like Morse code than English. So there's going to be a lot of swearing in it. If you don't want to watch that, then this is not the video for you. Right, at this early stage, I want to clear up something about hate speech. There's been a lot of discussion around the video I made and the video he made in the comments, and this is an area where there's confusion, and I want to try and straighten it out. So I've drawn a table here that's hopefully going to help. So on the top line of the table, we've got people who oppose hateful and gratuitously offensive speech. So when they hear someone speaking in that sort of manner, they think, I wish they wouldn't do that. That's not helping. It's not the way people ought to speak. Okay? And on the other hand, we've got people who do not oppose hateful and gratuitously offensive speech. Okay, people, when they hear someone saying the most appalling, sick, offensive things, they just think, yep, that sounds good to me. Just carry on speaking like that. That's the sort of society we want to live in. That's a really positive thing. Okay? So there's two sorts of people, roughly speaking, at the top. Right, down the side, we've got two classifications of people as well. People who want hate speech laws and people who do not want hate speech laws. Okay? Now, let's look at the table. Let's start on top right. People who do not oppose hateful and gratuitously offensive speech and want hate speech laws. Well, that's inconsistent. That doesn't really make sense, does it? I mean, those people don't exist. So we can forget those. Let's move over to top left. People who oppose hateful and gratuitously offensive speech and they want hate speech laws. Right, those people are enemies of free speech because hate speech can't be defined precisely and it comes down to who feels offended, and once you have hate speech laws, then freedom of speech is starting to be eroded. It's already happening, and with proposed legislation it's going to happen even more. Right, let's go down to the bottom line. This is people who do not want hate speech laws. I'll say that again because people don't seem to be able to understand this point. These are two sorts of people who do not want hate speech laws. Right, if we go to bottom right, these are people who do not oppose hateful and gratuitously offensive speech and they think it shouldn't be illegal, obviously. That's obviously consistent. So these people are free speech advocates, but I would say they've got a weak sense of personal morality. Okay, bottom left, we've got people who are free speech advocates but have a strong sense of personal morality. So when they hear gratuitously hateful and offensive speech, they will listen to it and think, that's not helpful. I wish people wouldn't do that. That doesn't make for a better society. I'm going to tell them so, and I hope that they don't speak like that anymore. But they don't think it's somewhere where the law should try to intervene for the reasons I outlined earlier. So roughly speaking on that table, I would hope to be in the bottom left category myself, a free speech advocate, but with strong personal morals. Whereas I would say 6oodfella seems to be in the bottom right category, a free speech advocate with weak personal morals. Now, you can call me self-righteous and whatever else he likes for that, but you can watch the rest of the video and make your own decision. So hopefully that straightened things out. I mean, sadly, I don't think it will. I think some people just seem incapable of understanding that it's possible to be a free speech advocate, despite the fact that you look at some forms of speech and think, that is appalling. I wish people wouldn't speak like that. People shouldn't speak like that. but you don't necessarily think it should be illegal. Anyway, people try and make out that free speech is a very black and white issue. I mean, Goodfella himself said it's like being pregnant or not pregnant. Well, everyone with any sense in any case, realises there are some limits on freedom of speech. Like, you can't lie about people indiscriminately as you wish. You can't just say, I think so-and-so is a mass murderer, and so smear their name like that without evidence. Similarly, you can't cause unnecessary alarm or upset. I mean, the classic example is you can't stand up in the theatre and shout, fire, fire, then cause absolute mayhem and then say, freedom of speech, freedom of speech. Of course not. And the other area where there are normally restrictions on freedom of speech is incitement to commit crimes, or in particular incitement to violence. My point with this joke that Goodfella made was that it was possibly could have been seen as incitement to violence. Now, if you said publicly, could someone please drive a truck through the Glasgow Pride event? That would be incitement. If you say, I hope someone takes a truck and drives it along Sauchiehall Street during the Gay Pride March on Saturday, then is that incitement? Well, I think it probably could be interpreted that way. If you manage to say the same sort of thing in the form of a joke, then again, it's a matter of interpretation, but it might be decided that that is actually incitement. Okay, we're going to look at some of the things that Goodfella said in reply to me. Now, some little clips, and I'll respond.
I said to him, Ricky Gervais used to say the word mong. Like, all the time he used to say the word mong. And then people were like, hey, that's offensive. I really don't like that. He doesn't say it anymore. Self-censorship is the worst kind of censorship. You know, he shouldn't have self-censored. He should have told him to fuck off.
Self-censorship is the worst sort of censorship. Well, yes and no. If you say something and someone points out to you that actually that's upsetting some people, and maybe there are reasons not to say that, and you think to yourself, well, actually I think they're right, there's probably no need for me to say that, I'll word it another way. You could call that self-censorship, but that's absolutely right. That's what you should do. That's what a responsible person would do. On the other hand, if someone thinks, I really should be saying this because this is what I believe, but I'm a bit scared so I won't say it, that's bad. People should have the courage of their convictions and speak out. So Goodfella's view here is simplistic.
Now, I am perfectly prepared to accept that you meant this as a joke. Well, thanks. And had no serious intent to incite anyone to violence. Who's going to commit violence based on that tweet? Are you a fucking idiot? Who's going to commit violence on a tweet? Oh my god, look at this joke here. That's it. I'm away out to kill people. Who the fuck does that? Fuck's sake, man. Oh.
Okay, fair point. What's the probability that someone will be inspired to commit a violent act purely on the basis of your tweet? Well, the chance of that happening is minuscule. But the thing is with that sort of speech is it's cumulative. If there's a general culture widely expressed that we want to see gay people dead, we want to see attacks on gay people, then the result of that in aggregate is going to be more attacks and more crime. There's a fair number of deranged and unbalanced people around in society, and when you're speaking publicly, you've got to bear in mind the effect that your words might have on them. Now, people are responsible for their own actions, but if you speak in a way that someone of an unbalanced disposition could interpret as incitement to violence, well, that's not something you want to happen, so you just have to be a bit careful with the way that you speak, realising that some people might interpret it like that.
You had no serious intent to incite violence and had no wish to actually see an attack on the Pride event. But it gets too close to saying you hope a violent attack is made on the Pride event. What do you mean it gets close? You're the one that inferred it, not me. You're the one that did this. You filled in the blanks. You seen Muslim with a truck, Pride event, and you filled in the blanks. This is your problem, not mine. I'm not taking responsibility for your fucking problem. Now you're saying what I said is too close to hoping a violent attack is made on a Pride event because of what you thought it meant. But here's another thing. Let's say for talking's sake that I did hope that, right? So, am I not allowed to hope something bad happens? Really? What if I'm at a football game and I go, oh, I hope they don't score that penalty? Does that make me a bad person? Does it really? Even if it does, so what? So what if it makes me a bad person? Shouldn't in a free country I be allowed to hope that something bad happens? Oh my god.
Does wanting something bad to happen make you a bad person? Well, I'm sorry if I'm having to state the obvious here, but it depends what the bad thing is. Does wanting someone to miss a penalty make you a bad person? No. Does wanting a terrorist attack to kill and maim people at the Glasgow Pride event make you a bad person? Yes, it does. In that particular aspect, at least, yes, that is a wrong thing. The fact that you would be wanting that to happen shows an unpleasant side to your character. Okay, should it be illegal to hope that? No. Should it be illegal to incite people to do that? Yes.
I think you should apologise. Suck my fucking cock. There's my apology. I don't think anyone is helped by the charade that the meaning of the tweet is obscure. I don't care. I don't care what you think. I find it unfortunate that so many people seem willing to play along and play dumb, pretending to not understand the tweet. Oh, you mean you find it unfortunate that there are a lot of people who do not make the inference that you're making? The free speech movement will be discredited if people are not seen to be speaking in good faith. I don't care about that either.
Well, I think it is important. If the free speech movement becomes seen as a bunch of really unpleasant, unsavoury characters, then people are going to be less willing to listen to it, and it will be dismissed and won't achieve its goals. If you don't care about that, that's up to you, but I do.
Yes, it's a clever point to claim that the police are being Islamophobic and assuming you implied terrorism, and you as well. You are also being Islamophobic because you're assuming the implied terrorism, even though terrorism was not mentioned. And it is fine to mock the double standards of those who usually refuse to acknowledge any connection between Islam and terrorism. Oh, thanks. But they are actually wrong in denying the link between terrorism and Muslims, as you well know. So you can't in seriousness co-opt your opponent's flawed logic in your own defence. No, see, this is what you don't get, Richard. I don't write the rules. My opponents write the rules. I just play by their rules.
You just lose all credibility here. I get the joke. I can see what you're trying to say. You're trying to expose double standards, fine, but then you're presenting it seriously in your defence. You lose all credibility. Lie number 3, he didn't realise it was Muslims who'd been involved in the terrorist attacks driving vans into crowds of people.
Right. Can you prove that I was aware of that?
Now, in a philosophical sense, proof is a very demanding criterion. You can't prove much outside of maths and logic and your own existence. But is there overwhelming evidence? Are there overwhelming reasons to believe that you're aware that the terrorist attacks with the trucks were carried out by Muslims? Of course there is. Like if you were to say, I believe that Santa delivers the presents at Christmas. Can I prove that you don't really believe that? Well, maybe not in an absolute sense. Am I absolutely justified in believing that you're lying? Completely.
You know where this is going to head to, right? I mean, you just said there, hello, I don't know, you started the video with some shit like, hello, welcome to the video or something, right? Well, when you said hello, welcome to the video, what I inferred from that, what he was really meaning by that, was all Jews should be gassed. That's what that came across like. So the police should pay a visit to you. You should then be arrested.
Well, that's so idiotic, it's hardly worth bothering to respond to. But I suppose if I need to say it, there's an obvious difference between willful, creative misinterpretation of what someone says, and on the other hand, inferring quite reasonably what someone meant by what they said. This is different from the Count Dankula thing, right?
Aye, because you give Count Dankula the benefit of the doubt, which, by the way, obviously he should have, and he should never have been arrested. But you know, my feelings on that are known anyway.
Count Dankula was saying gas the Jews. That might have been grossly insensitive, grossly distasteful, but it didn't indicate any desire on his part to see it happening.
Wait a minute. How do you know, right, that there was no desire on his part to see the Jews gassed, right? When he literally said the words, gas the Jews, right? But yet, you think that I want to see a terrorist attack on a gay pride parade when I didn't even say that?
Again, stating the obvious, but if that's what I need to do, context is the difference. The context of Count Dankula's statements were a joke, and the premise of the joke was that the Nazis are bad. The premise of your joke is that you would like to see a terrorist attack on the Glasgow Pride event. That's the difference. I'm sorry if that's too complicated, but it seems quite simple to me.
what he's going to do is he's going to take my video response, this one here, and he's going to claim that he swears too much and then dismiss everything that I say, right? Guarantee it, right? He won't even get to this point in the video. The stupid fucking cunt won't even get to this point.
People who are for free speech, and they're willing to defend anything anyone ever says.
Yes, as long as it's not inciting violence, literally inciting violence. Even then, that's kind of vague, but yes, whatever anybody says, that's what free speech means.
Well, that's good. So we agree. Freedom of speech with the exception of inciting violence, but what counts as inciting violence can be a bit vague. That's exactly what I've been saying. So we can shake hands on that one.
People like you want me to literally incriminate myself publicly on camera so that the police can knock on my door again and say, there you go, we've got all the evidence we need. You think I'm fucking stupid? You think I'm buttoned up the back? What the fuck, man?
So you're worried that if you stop lying and tell the truth about the tweet, then the police will come and arrest you. But hang on, I thought you weren't lying. I thought you were telling the truth. Right, even if this was going to come to a case again, which it obviously isn't because it's been dismissed, even if it was, how's it going to come across? A video of you saying, well, of course I'm not going to admit it, because that would incriminate me.
My tweet, or the tweet that was posted from my account, didn't say that. Didn't stir up any hatred.
Now don't tell me, that wink really means I'm absolutely telling the truth.
Either a political party, the Scottish Family Party. We're all about Scottish families, everyone, therefore we're good.
So we're saying we chose the name Scottish Family Party because we're trying to imply through it that we're good. Right, well that's not true. What's the name of your channel again? Good fella?
I don't like the LGBT agenda being pushed in schools. Richard, that's being pushed in Scottish schools. Did you know that? That just passed. I don't know if you're concerned with that or not. But I'm against that. Now, if I publicly say I don't like that, I hate that the gays are going into primary schools and nurseries, by the way, to push their LGBT agenda.
Well, if you watch our videos and look at our Facebook page, you'll see that we're dead against this LGBT indoctrination in schools. It's one of the major issues we've been campaigning about recently. We share your concerns entirely. Now, but if I was running the TIE campaign, Time for Inclusive Education, these are the people who push this indoctrination through the Scottish government. If I was running training sessions with them, the first thing I'd do every session would be to put your tweet up on the screen. And I'd say to people, look at that. That's what we're up against. And people would look at it and go, oh, that's terrible. Are they really that sort of person? Is that sort of person really out there? And then they'd launch into their explanation of why this shows indoctrination in schools is necessary. Their logic is false. It doesn't show that the sort of LGBT indoctrination that they're forcing on kids, including right down to nursery, is necessary. It doesn't show that. But people sometimes are not very logical, and it would help them in their cause of pushing for what they want. So I think tweeting things like you did is counterproductive to your cause. Whereas I hope what we do is challenging it in more moderate and restrained terms and entering the political process. We're hoping we can actually make a difference and get it stopped.
There is some truth in what you say, but you undermine everything else you say by being so unrestrained. Can you stop judging people on how they speak? Richard, can you stop doing that? That's not very nice. Some people make points and some people say it in different ways. Take the point. Forget how it's said. Take the point. If somebody says, chocolate is rather nice, and somebody else says, I fucking love chocolate. Two of them are saying the same thing. They're saying, take the message that chocolate's nice. Don't go, oh my god, I can't take him seriously. He shouted at. Fuck off with that crap. Stop judging people how they speak.
Now that would be a fair point to make if it was anything remotely like anything I'd said. But let's have a look at the actual comment that I'm talking about. So I responded to this comment by saying there's some truth in what you say, but you undermine everything else you say by being so unrestrained. Hate speech shouldn't be a crime, but speaking hatefully helps no one. Goodfella tries to make out as something like, I'm just saying, oh, I don't like the swearing in it. Let me read you what it actually says. So he's talking about the LGBT campaigners who complained about Goodfella's tweet. He says, I wouldn't mind if they got run over by a truck of peace. That would only mean there's a little less hatred in the world, which is a good thing in my book. I wouldn't mind if they got run over by a truck of peace. In other words, if they got killed by an Islamic terrorist in a truck. Okay, that sort of expression is wrong. It doesn't help anyone, it's counterproductive, and it's extremely unpleasant. And yet Goodfella's saying, what's the problem?
Hate speech shouldn't be a crime, but speaking hatefully helps no one. How is he speaking hatefully? Oh, well, he did. Okay, he did actually say that he he wouldn't mind if they got run over by a truck or piece. Again, he's not calling for it. He just says he wouldn't mind. Nothing wrong with that, you know.
Little chuckle there at the thought of these people being run over by a truck.
I'm not sure he should be charged, but do you agree that his tweet was reprehensible? You see that? His tweet was reprehensible. Now, I don't know if you're like me, but when I read that, all I can see is, I want to kill Jews. What a horrible person you are, Richard. How could you write that? The free speech cause is undermined if we can't show that we have basic standards of decency. There's no law about being decent. We must avoid the impression that free speech activists morally endorse every hateful and offensive thing anyone happens to say. Well, see if you don't, and not endorse, but see if you don't support their right to say hateful and offensive things, then you don't favour free speech. It's that simple.
Goodfella is just not getting it, is he? It's just got this black and white. You're for or against free speech. You're for or against hate crime legislation. I'll try to explain again. I am against hate crime legislation. I'm in favour of freedom of speech. But I think that case is better made by people who are saying, I'm in favour of freedom of speech. That doesn't mean I actually approve of every outrageously vulgar and offensive and hateful thing anyone says. It's just I don't think hate crime, hate speech legislation is the best way to tackle it. Is that really that hard to understand? Is it really that difficult to expand your two categories to allow a bit of differentiation within them?
Do you agree that saying, please someone drive a truck through the Pride March would be an incitement to violence? Wait a minute. Yes, maybe. Again, it's vague stuff. It's vague stuff. Isn't the tweet heading into that sort of... so it's heading into that sort of territory. I don't know how that tweet's heading into that territory, by the way.
Well, thanks for agreeing with me on that saying that sort of thing, yes, could be seen as incitement. And yes, like you say, there's an element of interpretation. It's not absolutely black and white. The statement needs to be analysed and judged as to whether or not that was its intent. Now, but then you seem to go back to to have something as law, it has to be absolutely black and white and crystal clear how to apply it. Well, you want that with laws, that's the ideal, but within a lot of cases there is a degree of subjectivity and interpretation as well. And that's the case with incitement.
If there's bullshit, I'm calling it out. But of course, when you do that with the Jews, can't go there. You can never call out their bullshit, because that would probably be... What's the word, Richard?
So you feel an element of anti-Semitism.
So there's an element of anti-Semitism. Richard, I know you're going to watch this fucking video. I know you're going to watch it. So in the comment section, I want you to write down specifically what I have said or done that is anti-Semitic. I want you to do that, because you just said there's an element of anti-Semitism.
Yeah, so what I said is there seems to be an element of anti-Semitism. I just picked up that flavour from watching a couple of videos. Now, I'm not going to reply to this in great detail. I'm not going to go off and do all the research for that. Okay, I'll be happy to discuss it sometime, but what I'll do is just paste in another couple of clips from Goodfella's actual video replying to me, where he talks about the Jews. And you can judge for yourself whether you think I was justified in saying there seems to be an element of anti-Semitism creeping into it. What do you think of these?
What's that agenda to promote? What's good for the Jews? Be that the diaspora or Israel? Does that answer your question? Tell me more. How do they promote that interest? They have a logical interest in mass immigration as it protects them from increasingly diluted native majority. Oh, he's not replied. I wonder why. Also, if you're not anti-Semitic, you're not paying attention. Who do you think done all this to our countries? That's a whole other video. I'll leave that for now, because I got in a fucking limited state the last time because I breathed about fucking the Jews.
So why have I made this video? 3 reasons. Number 1, to clarify the Scottish Family Party's position on freedom of speech. Now, if some people find it too complex to understand, we're just going to have to live with that. We've got what we think is the right policy. Reason number 2, to challenge hateful speech. Not by law. As soon as it's the law, you have a problem. Who defines it? People use it to attack views that they don't like. So not by law. But a responsible society has to maintain its own standards of civility and decency, and we each have to play a part in that. That's what I've tried to do here. So I've raised the issue about the standard of speech that we should expect in society. And I hope that's been helpful for some people. Okay, number 3, I made it to challenge Goodfella again. In debates, it's extremely unusual for someone to get halfway through a debate and then say, actually, I can see you're right. I was wrong all along. That just doesn't happen. But in the longer term, maybe people's views shift a little bit. Let's see. I'm not going to make any further comment on this issue. I'm not going to make another video. I'm not even going to engage in chat on the comments thread. But Goodfella, if you do want to carry on the discussion, then we can do that either face-to-face or in a live stream. Now, in response to that, you can tell me to F off for the 27th time if you want to, or maybe we'll talk. It's over to you. So to Goodfella, hope you have a great Christmas and wish you well for the new year. Thanks for watching.